I also want to say a wonderful word about the U.S. Supreme Court decision today, and to take this privilege as an American and to ask all those outside of the U.S. to beg my indulgence, and just to say how excited we are that the U.S. Supreme Court has affirmed health care for all Americans, which we believe is a basic human right. And we know that when families are impacted by not having health care, it especially affects minorities and those who are already marginalized. So we really rejoice today as people of faith that this basic human right of health care has come to a much better step today. We're so glad for that. There's a statement from MCC that you'll find on our website, on our Facebook page, on my Facebook page, that makes that statement for us today. The purpose of this broadcast, in part, is an update from my first live broadcast in March of this year, in which I explored some brutal facts and relentless optimism about MCC. It's just 3 months since that March broadcast. At that time, mostly due to unpaid tithes from years before and the first quarter of this year, we had a $500,000 gap in our budget to make up. In addition, I spoke from my heart about the present and future of MCC. Since that broadcast, I've had the privilege to travel to Brazil, El Paso, Texas, Santa Cruz, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Germany, Brussels, Romania, Chicago, Illinois, Austin, Texas, just outside of Philadelphia, PA, and Orlando, Florida. I've been visiting churches, universities, network gatherings. I've done an ordination, meetings, and a funeral. Much of that traveling has been sponsored by generous donations above tithes from churches and from individuals. Thank you. I think I can say with the governing board and senior leadership team that after 3 months of extraordinary efforts, we are encouraged and we are cautiously optimistic. I am encouraged because I've seen firsthand that MCC's mission and vision for global transformation is alive and well all over the planet. Today, I will begin with signs of encouragement and hope. We held our first successful virtual general conference in March with more global participation than ever before, and elected 2 new elders. That's a great step forward in making MCC more accessible and in lifting up gifted spiritual leaders for MCC. The Carpenter Foundation has just awarded us a grant of $75,000 for our Office of Formation and Leadership Development to develop programs in clergy wellness, mostly for this coming year. This is our 3rd successful grant from the foundation. Stay tuned for more information about the programs that will come from this grant. The governing board and senior leadership team have a turnaround plan for our financial strength and stability to meet that $500,000 gap. In the last 3 months, we have improved stability in monthly tithes, engaged successfully with several churches in back tithe recovery, and implemented a hiring freeze. We cut our travel budget, and we've developed some new revenue streams, including from summits and other programs. I initiated, with the help of our staff, the Moderator Circle, and I am simply blown away by the results. We have met our initial goals in this program, and it is already having a powerful impact on our monthly cash flow. The response from clergy and laity has been overwhelming. We are on our way to a 400% increase in our monthly donors. I'm so grateful to all of you who have participated with enthusiasm and generosity. I'm also heartened by the increasing number of churches that are paying weekly or on time. And for those of you who are GIF churches, generous in faith, if you don't know what that is, check it out by going to the MCC website. I'm also blessed by churches which, despite daunting financial and other challenges, are working to get back on track. I thank you. With Reverend Elder Lily Brock, I believe that at our network meetings and with individual congregations, we are recovering the core understanding of what the covenant between the churches and the denomination is, what the denomination and staff do to support churches and grow our leadership. The last broadcast sparked many conversations, and this is healthy and good. I'm encouraged that we've launched our Global Justice Institute, and thank you for your generosity through the Easter offering in raising over $30,000 as they begin their new phase. I'm encouraged by the dedication and work of our international task force, who will submit their final report to the governing board in August, after which the governing board will bring forward its recommendations to all our churches, clergy, and lay delegates before the end of this year so that we may have plenty of time for feedback and changes as we move toward General Conference. Speaking of General Conference 25 in 2013 in Chicago, Illinois, we have a record early registration. We can feel in our bones that this is a historic and perhaps the highest attended General Conference in our history. Don't miss it. Check out our registration, our General Conference website, and sign up today. I'm encouraged by the emails I get daily from people seeking to explore a career in MCC ministry, by thousands of individuals and groups who are seeking connection and community to MCC. How are we making a difference? Isn't this the burning question? I'm hearing reports from Hong Kong this week from Reverend Elder Ken Martin. MCC was a leader, sponsor, and participant in the largest LGBT Christian conference ever held in Asia last weekend. A historic press conference of LGBT clergy and clergy allies was organized by MCC clergy Reverend Boone, and you can see it on our website and Facebook pages. MCC is still on the marriage equality battlefront. Our work in Maryland and in the U.S. with combating racism and homophobia has been led by our own Reverend Candy Holmes and so many colleagues and allies working on marriage equality. We will prevail. I am so grateful for Reverend Troy Perry's continued engagement in this and other issues. Most of our networks are really engaging our churches and providing the care and community we need. Reverend Elder Darlene Garner reports that our Australasian network met recently for the first time, and Reverend Elder Mona West facilitated a lead retreat there and signed up 21 new participants. By early next year, we will have over 100 people graduate from our leadership mentoring retreat programs. And right now, members of our public policy team and our church in Washington, D.C. are preparing to help host and participate in and welcome delegates to the International AIDS Conference this summer, this July. Along with Bishop Flunder and other colleagues, we'll reach out and make sure that voices of faith are heard in this continuing conversation about AIDS in our world today. In Romania, which I visited with Reverend Pat Baumgartner of our Global Justice Institute, I had the privilege of serving communion to a young man whose Orthodox priest had counseled him to physically burn himself as a deterrent against homosexuality. The young man did not burn himself, but his heart had been so broken, and he thought he would never take communion again. Isn't this what we do this for? Isn't it what we live for people like that young man? In Eastern Europe, retired Pastor Jim Mulcahy is in the process of moving to the Ukraine to work for our Office of Emerging Ministries. Recently, at the Rainbow Spring Festival in Nikolaev in the Ukraine, he performed a wedding of 2 women with 60 participants, many of whom had been married in previous years past by MCCers, and often an open Eucharist there. In Kiev, pride events ended in violence and brutality that got international attention. There is so much to do there, including combating an ex-gay movement that needs an MCC challenge. Reverend Elder Diane Fisher, who pioneered our work there as we became the Human Rights Church, was recently honored by me and others at our network gathering in Chicago, and we blessed her on her way to become the pastor of Gentle Shepherd MCC in Tallahassee, Florida, our state capital. Best wishes, Diane. In Cuba, we now have 15 members and many more who are learning about MCC. Reverend Elder Hector Gutierrez will visit them in August, and the news of MCC is spreading to other cities in Cuba. In July, Reverend Hector will be affiliating our newest church in Argentina. Our emerging church in Spain now has 23 members and is leading faith events for Pride in Spain. As Heartland MCC in Springfield, Illinois has reached out to other cities nearby, they discovered a group of nearly 50 people in Peoria, Illinois, who they have taken under their wing as they begin a new MCC. The pastor of our church in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Reverend Marcio Retamero, will be speaking at a queer theology conference in Costa Rica next month, and it goes on and on and on. I am looking forward to spending time with our young adults next month as they gather in Dallas, Texas for their 2nd annual retreat. And now some ongoing brutal facts. The world economic recovery is slow, still uncertain, and there is daily volatility that has an impact on us all. Our governing board is working with me and our leadership to really discern how we can sustain financial health long term, to really expand our economic model, to explore what it will take for us to grow our resources to match the demand in our world. We know we need to invest in new church starts, to support experiments in church planting, in growth in our existing churches, and to replicate our successes. Virtual accessibility to our timely, vital, life-giving MCC message and ministry is essential. We must think out of the box. Get out of our small, limited thinking. We cannot be selfish with our message or ministry. Every day we must ask ourselves, where are MCC churches or centers or ministries needed? And how can people who are nowhere near an MCC have a sense of belonging with us and be empowered to carry on the message themselves? MCC needs to continue to position ourselves on the edges, on the margins, with those who need us so much. We may move in the mainstream of Christianity, as our bylaws say, but we are not a mainstream church. We are an upstart church from the margins with a prophetic message that is still almost unbelievable good news in so many parts of the world, including smaller cities and towns in the US and in Canada. We have some glass ceiling to break. How much can we grow? What are our potential resources? How can we dream and envision beyond our immediate challenges? We can remain small but grandiose as we are now, with a big voice but thin on resources. Or we can imagine ourselves growing into our destiny. We are the first wave of those who are skeptical about religion, but spiritually gifted, curious, and passionate about justice. We are ahead of the curve, and there are so many longing to connect to our embodiment of an inclusive gospel. That's not just theory, but a daily practice. And what can you do as a member, a pastor, as a participant in MCC, wherever you are in the world? Number one, believe in your calling and in the calling of those around you. Say yes to whatever God is calling you to do, to be, and to become. Volunteer at General Conference next year. Help someone get there. Don't miss this chance to be a part of history with people from at least 40 countries around the world. Take advantage of the summits that are being offered, the webinars, the retreats and leadership training programs, our online store and network gatherings, and other resources. They are all very affordable, and your tithe dollars contribute to their development and implementation. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your church or ministry. Get out of the box. Open yourself up to learning. If your church has not revisited its mission or vision recently or ever, or your worship or theology in the last couple of years or decades, re-engage in that holy conversation. Ask yourself what God is calling you to do and be and become today, this year, in the next 5 years. And pray for me. So many of you tell me you pray for me, and I always say, don't stop. Pray for the governing board, for the senior leadership team, for our elders staff, general conference staff. It's about to be summer in the Northern Hemisphere, often a challenge for church budgets here, and a challenge for denominational finances as well. Let's ask the Holy Spirit to help us skip that Northern Hemisphere summer slump this year in our local churches and in our denomination, and to trust God to honor the covenant we have as a global community. Pray for that person wherever they are today, who may be reaching out to us, or who doesn't even know that MCC exists. Pray that they will find us, that we will be ready and open, especially for young people who feel so alone and vulnerable in our world today. I thank you, MCCers, friends, and guests, for your kind attention, for your prayers, for your many messages to me. I am so proud of all of you, of the church and movement we are building together. God bless you.